to Jewel Fitzgerald's Kitchen. Today we're going to learn how to make communion bread. But before we do, we must remember that this is an act of worship. It is not just about making bread, it's about making bread for God. So let's pray first. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this opportunity to just make this bread for you, for your body, so that we can worship with you and share in the experience of communing with you today. So, what I like to do, you can do whatever you want to do, but while I'm doing the communion bread, I like to have some kind of music going on in the background because, like I said, this is an act of worship. So I'm going to put my Pandora on, so hopefully the music won't be too loud as we go through this, and it'll just be part of what you do. So, this recipe, the recipe you can get by sending me an email at jewelfitzgerald@gmail.com. That's JUELFITZ@gmail.com. Anyway, so the recipe includes let me look at this. So I do this all the time, but now I'm trying to remember what we put in here. We put in 5 tablespoons of butter, 1 cup of flour, and 1/3 cup of water. That will be in your written recipe when you send me an email. And it'll be typed, so you don't have to worry about my crazy handwriting. Anyway, so during these trying times, we need to do our communion bread at home for each other. So depending on whether you're going to be with a group of 9 or less, will depend on how you make your bread, and you'll see that as we go on. So I already have my thing laid out here, and I have water, flour, and I already have this already mixed. So what you need to do in the butter is use either butter that is salted, or salted is in the recipe. But what you can do, you can use also unsalted water because that's gluten-free. But you can use whatever butter will work for you, but salted is in the recipe, and if you're on a diet that you need to have less salt, use the unsalted one. So we have the flour all laid out. I have my bowl. So this bowl already has flour and the butter already in here. I am real old school. So meaning real old school is I take my butter and I take a fork and I fork it into the butter. Now, if that's not for you, because it does take a little time, it's a little more tedious, like sitting up here doing this thing, getting the butter in, you can put it in a blender and do that. But me, I don't want to do the blender because that's just one more thing I have to wash. And I don't want to wash something. So I'm just going to do old school, do it this way, get it to this consistency that it looks like this. And then when it gets to that point when it's ready to go, then I'll add my water. Water sitting here, stir it up. So you turn into a dough here. So let me get that done real quick. Hope that music's not too loud. I'm wondering if it is. I can't figure out how to turn it down, so that's my problem. I'm not going to stop to figure that out because, God will work it out for you guys to hear whatever's going on. Okay, so I'm going to put this in my thing. I can see already I got it's a little bit too wet for me, so I'm going to add a little water to it. So we want it to be like a dough. Alright, so, that's a little better right there. And I'm going to just put this down. I have a sheet laying on my counter. It's parchment paper. I use parchment paper to put my dough on. And I like to bake bread, so when I do the communion bread, I have to keep from actually kneading it because I actually want to knead it. But it's just water and flour. There's no yeast in it, so that's the way it's supposed to be, unleavened bread. So you get it on the, what do you call this thing, parchment paper, your counter, whatever it is you're going to use. And let flour be a friend. Don't have to worry about, I'm using too much flour. Don't worry about that. Flour is your friend. So make sure your rolling pin is good and floured up. Make sure your surface is good and floured up. And your dough is all doughed up. Literally, that's so cool. Anyway, so we're going to roll this out. I have to admit you while I'm rolling this out, when you do this, besides getting spiritually ready with your prayer, with your music, or whatever it is you're going to do, because everybody worships in their own kind of way, so do what you need to do. But I need to have some music so I can be reminded, okay guys, doing this with me. I'm not doing this by myself. Make sure you go to the bathroom before you start this process, because you don't want to be in the middle of this and then you got to go. If the doorbell rings, don't answer it. The phone rings, don't answer it, because this is your time with God. There's no interruption from the outside world, because right now it's just me and him, me and you, whatever, doing this great time of worship with him as we make this communion bread for the family. And in this case, a lot of times I'm doing it for the church, but right now it's for a smaller group because it's not for the whole church. So you're doing the same thing. You're going to be doing it for the size people that you're going to be with. So what we got to do is, once you have that bread rolled out, you're going to take your fork and you're going to pierce the dough all the way through. Because you want to do this just to make sure that you don't have to worry about any air bubbles rising in your dough when it's in the oven. Just like you do with a pie. You know how you put dough, we put, pierce marks in the pie so it won't have this big old woo-doo. Like on the, I don't even want to say that because you guys aren't old enough to understand about the Little Rascals where they had this big old dough thing in the oven and the thing just got out of hand. It's this big bubble. So anyway, get these fork marks in here so you can have it totally covered. I mean, if you want to do this afterwards, cool, but this is better to do. Put the fork marks in your dough before you start cutting. So, I'm getting down to the end here. The fork marks, let me move this out the way so you can't, because I won't need this rolling pin anymore so you can see better. So, normally when I'm at church, we use a little cookie sheet that looks like this. It's only about an inch and a half. So you just simply do this and then put it on your cookie sheet. I'm going to only do a couple of them because most of you are not going to be in this situation. And if you have cookie sheets with all different sizes, amen, go for it. Then you can get the sizes that we normally use in church, but I can't imagine everybody having a house with cookie sheets of all kinds of sizes. So let's just deal with the reality here. So I'm just going to make a quick roll just so you can see what would happen normally when I do this for church. And normally I'll have the whole sheet covered with cookie sheets. So you can do something else. If you do have cookie sheet, you can use a bigger one. You can do this. And if you don't have a cookie cutter like this, you want to make it big. Because, back in the day, really only maybe a year or two ago, we used to make them a bigger size, if you want to call it that. And then we got down to these itty bitty ones. So you can do that. And if you don't have a cookie sheet, use whatever you got. Use a bowl, use a glass, use whatever is round in the appropriate size that you want it to be, go for it. And it just was falling apart, so I'm just going to let that go to the side. So you see what I'm saying? There's one. Or, in most of your cases, you don't have a cookie sheet. Let's just do something different that we've never ever done before, only because God told me this is a good idea for those of you that have no cookie sheets or don't want to use your glass, don't want to use your bowl, don't want to use whatever it is you have. And right now, see, it's cutting kind of weird for me, but hey, this is all good. It's all good. It's going to work. It's going to work. So, what I'm going to do is cut them into little squares. So that way you can have individual pieces, because I'm sure you're going to be, if you're in a group of 9 or less, then you're going to need them to be in individual pieces just for sanitary reasons. Especially if you're uncomfortable with breaking the bread like you would with the bigger size, you would actually break the bread. But in these trying times, maybe you're not comfortable with breaking the bread and passing it around because you don't know where somebody else's hands have been. But anyway, unless you guys are all doing this with gloves, I don't know. But whatever. So we're going to do this. The squares are kind of crazy, but that's all cool. So we don't care. God doesn't care what it looks like, our shape. We're just talking about why we're doing this. We're doing this so we can have little pieces of bread so we can commune with him. So I'm going to put that on the cookie sheet. These are kind of interesting shapes. So we got samples of all kinds of shapes here. The round little ones and the big ones. And sometimes when I did before, sometimes I didn't even cut them. I just rolled it out. And then whatever shape it is, I threw it on there. So you can do that too. If you don't even want to do a cookie sheet, you don't want to cut it, that's up to you too. That's totally up to you. And then also with the ingredients asks for, what it asks for? Flour. So you can adjust that too. You can use whole wheat flour. You can use anything that's gluten-free flour. Whatever flour that works for you, because I've used whole wheat bread flour before, tried it on the church, and you can tell it looks different, totally different, because it'll look browner because it's whole wheat flour. So you could do that, whatever works for you. The point is, make sure it has bread, the flour, the water, and butter. Real butter, not margarine, butter. So make sure you do that. And then you just put this in the oven. The temperature is 325. Just take this little sample, we'll put it in the oven. I'm going off the stove, and we'll put it in the oven. So, depending on how your oven rolls, might depend on how, and look, voila, I got another batch. It's already cooked, the magic of video. So we have some completed products here. So this is an example, like I said, of the little ones, this one here, and the square. So depending on how you want to do that, probably should have did that other one I'll tell you about where you just rolled it up and it's just kind of all crazy shaped, but it's just a loaf of bread. So you can do it that way, and then it's all good to go. So when it gets a little light brown, that's when you take it out. However, while it's in the oven, you want to make sure that you watch out for those air bubbles, because the air bubbles will come up even after you put the little holes in them, pierce the thing. You're still going to want to open the oven and look, because you'll see as the air bubbles come up, you will punch these and make sure the air bubbles go down so that it's flat. You shouldn't have a piece where there's this big old air bubble because you didn't get a chance to pop it. And that's why it's important that you make sure you use the bathroom. You have no interruptions, because you'll be watching this. And it's all time and labor intensive. So hopefully this was enough information to get you through this Sunday to make your own communion bread for the group that you're going to be meeting with, for 9 or less people. And just enjoy that time with God as you commune with Him and using your communion bread to do that with Him. So I'll see you later. Have a great weekend.